Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, eat macaroni and cheese,
Or a tiny piece of cake with confetti sprinkles on it.
chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, geez. We're back.
We're back, baby. This is our
here.
400th episode.
400.
And that's just regular episodes, doesn't count bonuses, doesn't count GAC.
GAC doesn't
Drunk
count
dives,
Patreon.
Any of our Patreon.
I'm so glad you said that because I was also just going to say that to really drive home the sheer volume of content that we have on our back catalog.
It's kind of disgusting.
It's out of control.
You know how, like, 2 birds are always cute, but, like, 500 birds are
Terrifying.
disgusting?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
It's kinda like that.
You know, we
But
don't
we hope
attack
you
you
like
with
it.
beaks. Well, we do kind of attack you with our beaks, our yapping beaks.
We flap and flail.
We're very bird-like.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Who knew? But this is definitely an achievement.
Yes.
My God.
Yes. I think most podcasts don't record a 3rd episode.
I'm patting myself on the back. And you know what? Those podcasts are smart. The people behind those podcasts, they're smart people.
Yep. Get out while you can.
They're smart people. You know my advice. Whenever anyone asks me, should I start a podcast? I say, no. I love this, but this was a fluke. And it's really fucking hard work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of fucking work.
I
We
tell
love it.
people-
I'm so glad we're still doing it. My God, what a miracle.
I ask people what their goal is for this podcast.
Mm-hmm. If it's
Is
money,
it a hobby? Is it something that you don't have to put out on a regular basis?
are you just so passionate that you have to get it out? Like me, who's seen Wicked twice in the last 4 days, and now it's my entire personality. I was up until 3
What?
a.m. Oh, yeah, honey. Oh, yeah. Back to back.
That's back to back?
Like 2 days apart. The
Oh,
second I left the
wow.
theater the first night, I was like, I need to see this again. I need to see this again right now. I'm probably going to go again next week. I'll probably see it 100 times. My local theater, the Riverview, shout out, we love them, it's just like an old school single screen cinema, but they did a really nice remodel of it. So the sound is really good. The screen's nice and big. And you can do everything for like 2 people with snacks for like $25. It's so cheap.
Oh, nice.
So the downside is they are a single theater, like single screen cinema. So literally only one movie is playing there at a time.
Mhm.
But I love it because they get all the new releases. I saw Dune there. I saw Willy Wonka there. It's a great experience. I fucking love that theater. So if you live
Okay.
in Minneapolis, don't sleep on your local cinema. The St. Anthony, Maine, that movie theater is fucking awesome. They have some of the best popcorn in the city.
Ugh. Popcorn is the majority of my reason for going to a movie ever.
And you fucking don't need to spend, like, AMC, God bless. I was a Stubbs member for years, okay? But that shit has gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
You can't, one person can barely go to a movie for less than, like, $30 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking a date night at the Riverview. You know, you could go to Chatterbox for happy hour and then go have 2 people. My friend and I, it's so Minnesota to me, and I'm a little high, so I just got to say it. I got us 2 medium sodas, 2 medium popcorns, buttered. They asked me if they wanted buttered, and I always go, punish it. And then they look at me like I'm an insane person, and then they're immediately like, I know what to do.
I just say yes really strongly.
Desperately.
Please.
Okay.
They get the message.
2 medium sodas, 2 medium buttered popcorns, Reese's Pieces, because you know how I like to pour my Reese's
Yes.
Pieces into my popcorn.
Yes.
And Red Vines. Guess how much I paid for that?
And the tickets to the movie?
The tickets were $5 each because we went to an earlier showing. So
Oh.
not including the tickets. That was $10 for 2 people. Just those snack items for 2 people.
Well, just because you were bragging about how little money you spent, I'm going to go low and I'm going to say $22.
$18.50.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they have Coke products.
Oh, God bless them.
I know. I know.
It's not a movie without a Coke.
Listen, I'll never let it go. Anyway, happy 400 episodes. Go to your local
the fuck
movie
were we
theater.
talking?
Also, I'm Amanda. After all these years, still can't get that
I'm
one right.
Alphaba. Amanda.
Oh my God. I wish I was Alphaba.
She's so good. I haven't seen the movie. Was not familiar with Cynthia before.
Cynthia Erivo is a talent that we will never see repeated. She is a not even once in a lifetime talent. She is a once ever talent. And I've gone so far down the rabbit hole of like wicked behind the scenes footage. And I'm not going to give any spoilers. I loved the show when I saw it at the Gershwin in New York. I've read the book. I was not like a diehard Wicked fangirl, even though I was a theater kid, and it came out in 2004, I think it was. So it was like at a very iconic time in like my little musical theater world. So I was ripe for loving Wicked, but I didn't manage
obnoxiousness.
Peak obnoxiousness, but I didn't see it right away. I didn't see it until probably I went with my parents in like 2007 or 2008, I think. But this movie, even if you know nothing about it and you're not familiar with the music, like honestly, go raw dog it. Go in totally unawares, because it's essentially an elevated fan fiction of like canon lore for how Alphaba or how the Wicked Witch of the West became the Wicked Witch of the West. And there's Wicked Witch of the East lore in there too. But it's so fucking good. And this Cynthia Erivo is exquisite. And she and Ariana Grande both insisted on singing live for this movie. So like some of what you're hearing was likely some studio fixes, but like most of what you're hearing is them live singing in the scene, including Defying Gravity, where Cynthia Erivo is in like an AI hula hoop being hurled through the air while she's singing live, and there's clips of it in the sound on the soundstage.
So she sings while she works out, like while she's running, so that she can keep up the lung. I can't imagine.
I can't.
The voice alone, but in tandem with the acting.
They wanted to do their own stunts. The movie is like almost all practical effects. They fucking planted 9 million tulips for Munchkin Land.
Yeah.
They built a train. Like, this is going to win so many Oscars. Not that even fucking matters, because that's such an antiquated white people bullshit institution. But like, they deserve every award. And if Cynthia Erivo doesn't get Best Actress, I will launch myself into the sun. There is no way. Her performance is so unreal. I mean, I hope you wanted true crime content today, because you're not fucking getting it. You're not fucking getting it. You're not fucking getting it. And I was talking about this with a friend who's also like super into musical theater. Petition to, and again, we have been graced on stage with Alphabas played by Black women before, and a petition to never have a white woman play Alphaba ever again, because like the depth and the nuance and the lived experiences that Black women can bring to this specific role, because it is a story about oppression, and specifically in her case, because of the color of her skin, it's just like there's so much that white people can never understand or bring to that performance, because that's not any of our lived experience, period, full stop. And this covers topics of like race, class, disability, genocide. I mean, it's
fascism.
False
I've watched
prophets.
a lot of TikToks about it.
I've always loved this story. It's very powerful. It's always timely, because as long as white supremacy persists, this will be timely. But like, especially post-election, whoo, girl, come on. What are you trying to do to me?
Tell us how you really feel.
I hobbled out of the theater crying. I hobbled out crying both times. And then went home and screamed about this movie to my husband until 2 a.m. So, and then sent you guys TikToks until like 3 a.m.
Shad wanted to go see it at 9 a.m. yesterday. I was like, I don't think I can. Next time it's a yes. Well,
anyway.
Do you feel better?
Yes, I really do.
That was a
But let's wrap this up because I want to go see Wicked again
about Wicked.
tonight. Not even a rant. It's like a joy rant. It's a rant if you don't see
a rave.
A rave. Yes, a 10-minute rave.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking love it. Okay.
Love a 10-minute rave. Well, today's topic is Wicked, I guess, so far.
It's not. I so wish. I could keep going for 2 hours if you want me to. If we want to scrap all the work we've done. Okay. You're right. We didn't get a song, so should we just sing Defying Gravity super quick?
Sure. No, I don't know the lyrics.
I can't
I'm sure I could hit every note with this head cold.
I'm sure you could.
While doing jumping jacks.
Ugh.
I'm sure I could do jumping jacks.
Girl, are you sure? You sure about that?
No.
You sure about that?
No.
No, I can't.
So today's topic is something. It's a gal's pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's something
pick.
It's something that we joked about, and we were like, we should cover that just because we don't know how to say the word
or what the fuck it is. And I'm gonna tell you, I still don't know either of those things really. So God, my bangs are bugging me today. They keep getting all over the place. Okay, continue.
I think I have like
a cats and wigs level understanding.
I think I understand the concept. But yes, this is very much a Cats and Wigs episode, and we will also get to the isotopes. So,
oh, thank God. Okay.
I did have a couple of listeners because we were joking about this topic on a recent episode, and a couple listeners heard it and were like, "I am a scientist. I work with mass spectrometers every day. If you'd let me know if you have any questions." And to those people, thank you so much for reaching out. I
didn't read your emails, but Lucy did because they fall more under her umbrella.
Well, they were all offering help and information, and I so appreciate that. However, I did not reach out to anyone. So please don't be gentle.
Yeah, don't add us. We're not scientists. We're doing our best.
Yeah. So that's the topic. What's next? Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing? Oh, I didn't even say it. Forensic
Spectronomy. Troscopy.
Spectroscopy or spectronomy.
Which are basically the same thing.
Spectrometry.
Yeah, spectrometry, which like I would start Googling that and then it would just take me to spectroscopy. And I was so confused and I hated every second of it. So I'm ready to drink about it a little bit. And
stumble over all of our words.
Yeah, no, this isn't going to go well. I also have to admit that our pairing today has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. I paired more with the celebration of 400 episodes.
Oh, good.
And so I have chosen 19 Crimes Snoop Dogg Cali Gold Sparkling White.
Ooh, a little bubbly for us.
We're having a little bubbly. We just like getting absolutely fucking inundated with that godforsaken map of the UK with the funny names on it that, yes, we've seen 5 billion fucking times. And if I never see that
road trip does not exist.
If I never see that goddamn map again, it'll be too soon. And that's not the first time I've said this on this show. So let me answer your questions. We also get, well, it's kind of faded out in the last few years. But when this line first kind of came out, we were like 2 years barely into the podcast. And we were getting floods of messages every day being like, oh my God, have you seen 19 Crimes wine? Baby, we've seen it, we've paired it, and we're seeing it and pairing it again.
This is like our 6th time pairing.
It's at least our 3rd. But yeah we've Soup's used it before. So the 19 Crimes Snoop Dogg Cali Gold is available at most major liquor retailers. This is a national brand. I think you can get it on their website.
Get it at gas stations around here.
Their bottles are very reasonably priced, and the wine is quite good. This one retails for $18, but they're usually in that like $10 to $20 range, depending on what the varietal is. Here is some information about this wine. Snoop, as in Snoop Dogg, is bringing the rhymes through augmented reality with the world's first rapping wine label. Now, I do not have the app, and I will not be downloading it, but there is, I guess, a special app for 19 Crimes, or if you use your camera over it, the label interacts with you, and that's scary for me, so I'm not doing that. But if you want to do that on your own, more power to you.
You're so sassy today.
I'm over it. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. Cali Gold features floral and citrus aromas, subtle nuttiness, and toast, like that toasted bread taste. The flavors are round and rich with tropical fruit, lemon, and green apples, all coming to a long, crisp citrus finish. Pop bottles, Cali style. Okay.
But we shall.
This is like an actual partnership with Snoop Dogg. So he had input on a lot of this, which I think is amazing.
Great.
This is the 2021 vintage. It is like it's called Cali Gold. It's a California white. ABV is 11%, so it's not going to kill you. You can have a couple glasses. And it is made up of 10% Muscat, 26% Riesling, 28% French Colombard, which I think is similar to a Chardonnay. And then the rest is 36% mixed white varietals to fill it in. So this should be interesting. It's a sparkling white blend.
Okay.
So I am going to expertly remove the cage that is over the pop. I'm going to do so very gently so as not to accidentally pop it. Oh, it's pretty well secured, so I have to remove both. And here we go.
Oh, that was a nice pop.
That was indeed a nice pop.
That is our 400th pop.
Holy shit, in a bucket on the floor.
Yeah. How far we've come.
I don't think, but we haven't done wine or pops with every single one. But like our 400th sip.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the bubbies.
That looks crisp.
It smells delicious. Cheers. Are you drinking anything, my sickly friend?
No, because I can't, because I am ill and I just ate a bunch of Thanksgiving leftovers.
Fair. I had COVID. She has kid in daycare disease. Nobody can win.
Kid and daycare disease. KIDD.
KIDD. It can be deadly. All right. Before we dive into our 400th episode, Forensic Spectroscopy.
Spectrometry.
Well, our show notes say Forensic Spectroscopy.
I'm going to change them.
Yeah, please don't. We had a full conversation about this.
Okay.
Because of the Google, because of the SEO.
Okay.
Like when you search spectronomy, it just takes you to spectroscopy. It's really annoying.
Spectronomy isn't a thing. It's spectrometry.
Either one. I did both. I copied and pasted what was in here to search it, and it took me to spectroscopy, and it drove me insane.
Okay.
So we're leaving it. All right. We're back. We're fine. And Lucy, what is our background and psych for forensic spectroscopy? Or whatever the fuck you're going to call it, but I'm refusing to call it that.
Spectroscopy. Okay. Like we said, this is going to be very cats and wigsy. And this is going to confound the confusion. We're going to talk about mass spectroscopy / spectrometry and spectrophotometry. Those are two different things.
Okay.
They're like kind of three different things, but they're two different things.
Unbelievably high and rolling with it.
There we go. That's all you need to do.
Let's fucking do it.
Okay, so this is from the Broad Institute, which is a biomedical research center, if you have never heard of it.
And only broads can get in. It's a school for broads.
The Broad Institute teaches you how to be a broad.
The Mouthy Broad Institute.
I could drive a boat show through those legs. That's what I pictured.
Close those legs, ladies. I could drive a boat show through there.
Okay. So again, spectroscopy, spectrometry, same thing. It is an analytical tool for measuring a sample's mass to charge ratio of one or more molecules. Mm-hmm. I've already lost you. I can see it in your eyes.
No, actually, I was just daydreaming about the Denver Crime Lab and how I watched the Netflix JonBenet Ramsey documentary and how they talked about the Denver Crime Lab. Yeah. And I screamed to my husband, I've been there! Like, and I know him!
Well, have they tested all the DNA samples?
Bitch. I don't fucking know.
So these measurements can often be used to calculate the exact molecular weight of the sample components, thereby telling us what the components are or is.
And it's there from a very small sample. On a molecular level. Like if you had a speck of something, they could use this method to be like, that's this metal, or that's a piece of this plastic, or that's a piece of a hair or a fiber, whatever. Like they can figure out what the fuck that speck is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Genius.
Like tiny.
Science?
A flake of skin.
Science is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Like miracles exist, and baby, it's science. You're barking up the wrong book, okay?
So typically, mass spectrometers can be used to identify unknown compounds via molecular weight determination. They could quantify known compounds. Like, so if we already know that we have this thing that's a mix of this and this, then it can just kind of break that down data-wise more. And it can also determine molecules' structure and chemical properties.
Nope. That's insane.
Yeah. Spectrophotometry.
Oh, God.
Is a method to measure how much a chemical substance absorbs light by measuring the intensity of light as the beam of light passes through a sample solution.
Okay.
So it's spectrometry plus the word photo, which of course means light.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just doing the same thing, but using light and actually getting even more incredible results. So beam of light passes through the sample solution. The basic principle is that each compound absorbs or transmits light over a specific range of wavelengths. So if they know how the light is passing through a substance, they can tell exactly what was in the substance based on how the light looks on the other side.
Cool.
Spectrometry and spectrophotometry use different tools because they are they're coming to the same or similar conclusions, but
different methods.
Totally different methods.
One's using light, one is not using that method.
Mm-hmm. A spectrometer measures an object.
Like, this is fucking hard to follow. This is so easy. What? Like, science is hard.
So a spectrometer also uses light. So, okay, a spectrometer measures an object's reflection or transmission of light, usually in a wavelength range from about 360 nanometers to 760 nanometers. So it's my understanding that is just like some like white light. A spectrophotometer measures the full color spectrum and produces spectral color data, typically not detected by the human eye.
Damn.
So it breaks it down exponentially more than just a simple spectrometer.
Ugh.
So spectrophotometry is like, I was thinking of it as like the cool cousin who has like a really cool job and lives in a cool place and has like a great sense of fashion. Just because it's more colorful and it's cooler.
I can picture which cousin that is for you so easily in my mind.
Totally. You know what.
Uh-huh.
The coolest job in the world.
Coolest job in the world, and she wears the shit out of a New York black turtleneck.
Yes. Yeah.
Just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Timeless. Stunning. Classic. Flawless human.
We'll see her at the Poe party.
Mm-hmm.
All spectrophotometers contain a spectrometer. So a spectrophotometer is just an enhancement of a spectrometer.
Yeah, it's like the top tier, like the umbrella level technology. And then they can go deeper by adding additional elements or augmentations to that technology to get specific results.
Mm-hmm.
This makes sense.
So a spectrometer uses a variety of analytical instruments. So the spectrometer itself is a collection of different instruments. At the same time, a spectrophotometer is an all-inclusive system that includes a light source, a means to collect the light that has passed through the sample, and then a spectrometer for collecting those measurements. So just briefly, because I don't even understand how this works, but if you're wondering, like a spectrometer, like if it's kind of using light and it's kind of not, there's like there's a tube and it has a bend in it.
A series of tubes.
It probably is a series, but I guess it very basically, the sample goes into one end of the tube. It gets heated so that like the ions are like moving quicker. They're like accelerated. And then they pass through the bend in the tube and there's a magnet there. And the magnetic field deflects the lightest ions the most. So those are going to be the ones that make the most drastic turn in the curve. And then the heavier ions are the ones that will make a less dramatic turn. So they're like,
because they're heavy, so they're slower.
Yeah, so they will be up higher on the detector plate, like whatever the mechanism is for receiving the light, where the light, like which light hits where on like a physical thing where they can then measure. Am I making sense?
For the most part, honestly, you are.
Yeah, so obviously it's way more complicated than how I just said it, but it involves magnets. It involves accelerating your ions. And I don't even know like what, like the thought of coming up with an idea for something to collect the light that is refracted, pass through like how do you collect light?
No, it's nerd madness. Y'all are geniuses.
I guess a photograph is a collection of light, but you know what I mean.
That's then, printed.
Just the brains that went into this shit that go into this shit are amazing. So yeah, all you people who emailed me, fucking hats off for even being able to wrap your head around this.
This is nuts.
So mass spectroscopy is a scientific method that analyzes a material sample to determine its molecular makeup. We've covered that. By ionizing a sample, a scientist can cause it to separate it into its ions. This allows them to analyze and categorize those ions to determine the sample's composition. So here we go with the ions again.
Yeah.
This method
always go back to the fucking ions.
Yeah. So this is how it works, and for obvious reasons, this is used a lot in forensic science because, as we said before, it can provide clues from like a fucking hint of a piece of evidence.
One of the main questions in a crime in analyzing evidence is, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
And is it...
We're going to tell you.
I want to say it's Foucault's principle, but I could be totally wrong. Anytime...
I wouldn't know either way because I have no idea what you're talking about. So you just sound really smart.
According to Foucault's principle, there will be evidence at a crime scene. There will be evidence. It's just a matter of finding it, collecting it, analyzing it correctly.
Not brutally mishandling it and botching it and suppressing it.
It is impossible to not leave a trace of anybody anywhere doing anything. So some actual specific applications of a mass spectrophotometer can be used. They can be used in cases that involve poisons or toxins.
That's my case today.
So a forensic analyst can take samples of a subject's tissues or bodily fluids, even like exhaled breath in some circumstances, and determine if any toxic substances are present, and if so, in what concentration.
Cool.
It can also detect, like, let's say that a sample detected alcohol in a person's body.
Sure.
It can also determine that individual's like regularity of consuming alcohol to see if that was
like
even a factor.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this can provide essential clues to investigators as to how a victim may have died and to help identify the time and dosage of the substances that are ingested.
That's wild.
Like the degree to which they can break this shit down into usable, measurable data is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
A spectrophotometer can also be helpful. I don't know why I cannot say these words.
It is such a hard word to say for some fucking inexplicable reason.
It can also be helpful in arson investigations because it can detect volatile compounds. So I took that to mean like flammable liquids. So they can use it to provide evidence of arson.
There was accelerant used. This is maybe the kind of accelerant that it was gasoline or it was isopropyl alcohol or whatever the fuck.
Yep. So they could also use it to like match different chemical compounds of an assumed accelerant to different scenes if it's like a serial arsonist.
Oh, so they'll know like this is the same. What the fuck? That's buck. I love this.
In the case of like bombs, explosives, we've talked before about how bombs are nuts just because they inherently destroy everything around them, and you can still go in and find evidence to analyze.
Yeah, it's such a farce that like because people historically have used explosives for that reason, thinking, oh, this will destroy all the evidence. They won't be able to trace it to me. No. I mean, same with trying to burn a body. You're not going to be able to burn everything away. Even like flooding a crime scene, trying to clean up a crime scene, lighting a crime scene on fire. Like, bitch, the technology is real good these days.
Yep. Getting harder and harder to get away with murder.
Yep. Thank God.
Okay, so in the case of bombs, a mass spectrophotometer, can also help identify the precise chemical composition of the explosive in question. So the examination can help determine the ingredients that were used in the mixture and, inform investigators in the right direction looking for a source. And this is especially helpful, in like mass-produced explosive materials, they can definitely use it to track that. But even a homemade bomb mixture. And like I said, they can link different incidents together because of this, but also, if you know that John Smith is purchasing or importing like a specific substance and you know that substance is in the bombs that have exploded,
there's your connection.
There's your also probable cause.
Yeah, that's a lead.
Yep. So a little bit more about the spectrometer. This is the simpler version. Guess when it was invented? The first one was invented.
It's weird because it feels like old new. Like we've been experimenting with like atom and ion technology for a long time. I don't know about applying it in this way, but I'm going to guess the 30s.
1912.
That's
when
crazy.
Was Helen born?
I was just going to say 5 years before Helen.
Yeah, so even older than
Helen. She
Helen.
was born in the age of spectroscopy.
She was. So the very first mass spectrometer, which was initially called a parabola spectrograph because it's in the shape of a parabola.
What the fuck is a parabola? Like a circle? An archway?
It's like a horseshoe, like an arc.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Parabola.
Hey Siri. What is a palabra?
Parabola.
A plan is a set of instructions for attaining a given objective. No. Hey Siri. What is it called again?
Parabola.
What is a parabola? A type of plane curve in mathematics. So yeah, it's like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
You
Or
nailed it.
Like a bell curve. But the whole thing was shaped like a horseshoe, sort of.
Yeah.
So constructed in 1912 by J.J. Thomson, who was best known for discovering the electron in 1897. How do you discover an electron?
I don't know. What the fuck? What the fuck, JJ?
Nerd alert.
Yeah, fucking nerd. Get a life. Get an electron.
He only moved the humankind forward several steps by discovering the electron.
I mean, I doubt he did it single-handedly. I have a feeling that these...
he definitely had a female coworker who did it, and he slapped his name on it. Probably.
And, also these discoveries typically come after many, in some cases, ages of theory.
Oh, yeah.
And,
This guy didn't have a fever dream about the existence of an electron and then built a contraption to go find one.
I'm going to find that.
It's just, either way, it's really, whoever the fuck
he did it by accident.
Had that fever dream. Someone had a fever dream about it.
He was actually trying to create Flubber, the film, the iconic film Flubber, but in the process,
he was a big basketball fan.
Much like the creation of Flubber, an accident happened along the way, and he stumbled upon the electron and moved science forward into a new age, trying to make Flubber through a horseshoe.
But my takeaway is we still don't have Flubber. So where's the real failure here? What would advance mankind more than Flubber?
I just choked on my own laugh. Oh my God.
Or that shit from like Men in Black when it like bounces all around the office.
Oh yeah. You know what? You know what else we fucking need? JJ.
You know what?
You know what else?
While you're at it, JJ.
The Mind Eraser light pen, which this looks mysteriously similar to, but doesn't have the same results.
Well.
No matter how hard I try.
It's in the right direction.
It's definitely in the right direction. But there are just some things I would like to forget. You live long enough, you have some stuff you want scraped out. Trauma.
Scraped out.
Flashed out.
You could always get a lobotomy.
I was literally just going to say, I don't want to be lobotomized. I don't.
Please lobotomize me.
But sometimes, I mean, I guess we have to be careful making jokes like these now, because we definitely got an email about our discussion around what your bottom line is for eating human flesh.
Was the email like that was a really relatable conversation?
No, I thought that's what I was expecting, but the email was like, you can't be serious. Human flesh for money? And I wrote back, we just really need the money.
Here's a link to our Patreon.
Yeah, but so for anyone out there who was disturbed by, well, okay, to be fair, I was disturbed by how low you would go. $500? Baby girl.
I'm broke, bitch.
I know, but like, this is not the way. This is not the way.
But it depends on the other stipulations.
Factors. Yeah.
We talked
like
about
said, the
cooking,
bacon.
seasoning, how much, how long, whether the person's dead or alive.
Right. I want it to be ethical consumption.
Consent.
Yeah, I get it. I'm still not doing it for $500, but I love that for you. But yeah, I was I
wouldn't start negotiations there. But I would.
No. but I go all
anything
the way.
$4.99, no, it's off the table.
Okay, that's fair. This is a very Facebook Marketplace, like
Totally.
back and forth with a scammer.
How much would you pay for the bottom half of jeans?
Well, they have been marked down from $80 to $75. If you're in the Minneapolis or Twin Cities area and you're also seeing bottom half of jeans on Facebook Marketplace, just please come to my Instagram and commiserate with me because the Facebook Marketplace is so unhinged. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. I'm telling you, now that I've pointed this out, you're all going to start watching it. It's going to blow your mind. I love it.
My Nextdoor app is pretty rugged these days, too.
I refuse. I will not engage on Nextdoor. That is a hell I cannot bear. I won't do it.
I got it and I can continue to have it just because of the sheer number of like stray animals I come across and feel guilty and like bring into my home and keep in my bathroom for 3 days. That's when Nextdoor comes in handy.
That's fair.
Shout out to Cloudy. Hope you're doing well.
But also, still, fuck that chicken that kept wandering into your yard. And
Fuck the chicken.
I hope you tasted delicious, bitch.
Have
As
not
we know
seen
from
that
bird
chicken.
crimes, I know how to kill you. So you better not run into me on Lucy's porch.
We have so many neighborhood cats. I'm sure that
I will grab you by the legs, flip you upside down, and fucking end your life. And then pluck you, have Corey do the organ removal, and then we're roasting you. We're roasting you, bitch.
Corey is necessary for all the grossest parts of these animal stories, like the dying possum on the sidewalk.
That was a rough day.
Grab that.
That was a rough day.
She died in a warm bed.
Yeah, you did her a great service.
I didn't. My neighbor did. I was going to let her die in the street.
Oh my God.
I wasn't driving to Ames. I wasn't going to call around to see what wildlife rehab place is open on a Saturday.
Well, you know what? Oh, all right. Don't.
I wasn't gonna.
No.
I
Animals
literally
die all the
saw it
time.
in the street and was like, well, we're late for
That
our
sucks.
reservation. That sucks. And then my neighbor calls 15 minutes later in actual tears to inform me that there's a dying possum outside. And I was like, yeah, I know.
I'm at dinner. What do you want me to do about it? That's a bit much. Did it look dead when you saw it? Because I never would have even thought to like check its vitals.
It was moving. It was crawling really slowly.
Yeah, I just don't think that I would feel compelled to interfere with a wild animal that, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we're going to get emails now.
Either way, we're getting fucking emails. What else is new?
Oh my God. Okay, back to JJ.
I see roadkill all the time. It just is. It's part of life. All right, JJ, you bitch, JJ.
Fucking
You
JJ.
fucking nerd. You fucking dork.
Nerd JJ used the mass spectrometer to uncover the first evidence for the existence of non-radioactive isotopes.
Oh,
Cats in wigs.
Cats without wigs.
Exactly. I don't
Sure.
know.
I don't remember that analogy at all.
Oh.
Gun to my head, I'd be dead. There's no way.
It made so much sense when I wrote it down, but then when I said it out loud, I was like, now I'm not even following what the fuck I was saying. Not at all.
Girl, I feel that so deeply. Every case, this is like part of the reason why also my need for a hard deadline, but like part of the reason why I struggle when I write cases ahead. For example, today, I wrote this case like almost a week ago.
Yeah.
I don't have any memory of what I put in there. I know like the basics and that like there was a suspected poisoning. That's like kind of all I remember. So I'm basically going to be reading what I wrote cold.
A cold read.
Yeah.
When I sat down and booted up my computer for the first time since way before Thanksgiving, I was like, oh, we recorded St. Paul crimes?
Yeah, we did. Oh my God, we're so far ahead.
Oh, we're so far ahead. God.
As the crow flies, we are 2 episodes ahead. And this is the second one. As the alphabet flies, we are 1.5 episodes ahead.
as we defy gravity, we are one episode ahead.
I'm fully defying gravity right now. This weed is nice.
Are you holding space?
I am holding space for arguably too much.
I kind of have to hold less space. Be cool if I could hold a little less space.
No space would be awesome.
Ugh. So JJ's device was based on research on Kanalstrahlen. There we go.
Can I guess? Is he German?
It's German for canal rays.
So is he German?
JJ Thompson?
Oh, yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
See, my memory.
Who knows?
The flashy device is working.
I'm leaving so much space in my brain for vacancy.
I feel the vacancy growing. It's great.
Oh, God. It's so dark. Okay. So canal rays are the streams of positive ions formed from residual gases in cathode ray tubes, initially found emitted from channels cut in the cathode plate.
Okay.
This is all over my head. That's what's over my head.
Guess who's not explaining that further? Any of us.
Actually, I think a cathode plate is how they collect like the results at the end of the tube.
May I? Hey Siri, what is a cathode plate?
A cathode plate is a negatively charged electrode.
Well, that was useless.
It's
a
an
cathode
electron
plate is a negatively charged electrode, not tron.
Cathode.
Because I would imagine, isn't an electrode a man-made thing? And an electron is like an element? Or like something that exists in the universe? Like an atom?
Electrode may refer to an electrical conductor used to connect a circuit to a non-metallic part.
There you go. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, like a
word for word.
semiconductor. A vacuum is an example of an electrode.
That's insane. Like,
but air
my
is
Dyson?
Air is technically an electrode because of lightning.
Oh, okay, whatever.
So an electrode is just defined by its function. So I'm so glad that you've all tuned in for today's episode. while we just
You're
Google
learning so
shit
much.
and learn. Oh my God.
You're
Okay.
learning so much.
Depending on their mass, local magnetic and electrostatic fields deflected these positive rays, resulting in diverging traces on a photographic plate. Okay, the photographic plate.
Yep.
We're back to the photography, the collection of light.
Yep. We're back to the fucking how they capture the results, but this was just the earlier version.
So getting into the forensic side of this stuff, we took a look at scientific and legal precedents having to do with a mass spectrometry. According to an article published in the National Library of Medicine, one of the earliest references to mass spectrometry in legal literature is in 1950 when H.W. Washburn appealed the rejection of claims on his patent application. So he applied for a patent.
Yeah. This wasn't like
they denied
a criminal case. It was like, this is where it shows up in law for the first time because he was pissed about his patent being denied.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he had invented an ion extraction potential in an electron ionization source and a mixture analysis using mass spectrometry.
That's cool if I knew any of that meant. But yeah, cool. A chemistry occurred. A science happened. He made a science and he wanted to patent it. And they were like, this looks like bullshit. And he was like, fuck you, it's not bullshit. I'll fucking prove it.
So most of the documented legal history of mass spectrometry specifically involves patent disputes.
Not its use in forensics. More than its use in forensics. This is where it shows up in legal history.
We'll get to the use in forensics.
Okay.
But another theme among the early legal cases is, weirdly, customs infringements and other issues related to the manufacture and distribution of the instruments themselves.
So they were getting materials to make them from places that they were disputing the customs legality.
Yeah.
And or they were trying to share this completed technology and send it somewhere,
But
or
Customs was
receive
like,
it. But Customs was like,
we don't
what
like
the fuck
this.
is this?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Because also, like, even in the 60s, I have a picture of a mass spectrometer on the drive.
Does it look
This-
crazy?
This picture, it takes up the whole fucking room.
Yeah. How are
basically.
you sending that anywhere?
That's in 1963.
Yeah. When a
So-
computer also took up an entire room, to be fair.
Yeah, but there are just like a bunch of parts. Like the more complicated and like accurate they made it, the bigger it had to get,
Of
because
course.
like the actual hardware technology wasn't great then.
These men just look happy to be there.
I
They
know.
look like they have no fucking idea. They look like hired models.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't, let me be clear. Not in that way.
Paid actors.
Yeah, but they look like paid actors who are staged in this area, just gently touching something that might do something in this room and smiling and making direct eye contact with each other. Like,
It's also unnaturally well lit.
baby, it's a love story. I'm here for this. This is stunning. This photo is everything. These men have no clue what the fuck is going on.
I want a queer romance novel
Yes.
about two scientists, two mass spectrometrists.
Hell yeah.
They can activate their ions together.
I think you should write it.
I think Scott should write it. Once he's done with his first novel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so Customs. An interesting case relating to mass spectrometers includes a court decision on a personal tax matter. This happened in 1948. Alfred O.C. Nier, N-I-E-R, he was from the Twin Cities. He's very smart.
Oh, how fun.
He built a portable mass spectrometer because, as we could see, well, that was even in the 60s. Maybe that was what was considered portable. But so he built this portable one in order to monitor process gases in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he and some other people made a portable version of the instrument for monitoring the exhaled gases of patients undergoing anesthesia.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was like to monitor the amount, if they could measure the amount of anesthesia that the person was like, filtering through,
Sure.
or if it was like, in case there is some kind of rupture or like a negative side effect on whatever procedure they're doing, then they could detect it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or both, or something different.
Neither, neither, or both.
But yeah, they had it, they captured the exhaled air and they were like processing this data and coming to conclusions in real time in the room.
That's wild.
Yeah. So the legal matter related to the portable mass spectrometer, and this involved one of his medical fellows.
Okay.
In favor of the U.S. Tax Commissioner, the appellate ruling held that the collaborating medical fellow on the project, so somebody who helped him make this portable machine.
Mm-hmm. One of these two men staring lovingly at each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yes.
partners,
They're
only
partners.
in business and work.
They're fellows.
They're fellows.
So the issue was that he got a portion of a fellowship award
Mm-hmm.
in the amount of $2,200 in 1953, and he
Yeah.
did not report it as taxable income. So that was
Yeah,
like,
that'll get you.
you did such a good job. You have got to pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I learned a little bit more about Alfred Nier, our Minneapolis man, St. Paul man, actually, from Wikipedia. So here is another little detail into that guy's life.
Okay.
In 1940, he and a few other students prepared a pure sample of uranium-235
Ooh.
using an early mass spectrograph that he designed. So that's like something fucking else.
Yeah, that's wild.
But he designed it for John Dunning's team at Columbia University. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you.
Sure doesn't. But Columbia University sounds similar to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
'Cause that's where Blair Waldorf and Sabrina Vanderwoodson, I think, end up going to college in Gossip Girl. Or maybe it's Nate that goes to Columbia. I don't know, you guys. I'm almost done with it.
Didn't hit you quite like Wicked did.
Oh, no. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad. But like, I started it during COVID, and then I have ADHD autism completionist syndrome. So I was like, well, I got to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the last season. I cannot wait to be freed from this prison. Bill sat down the other day. Oh, Bill sat down the other day while I was watching it just to eat lunch. It was like, what is this? And I was like, it's Gossip Girl. It's so bad. You're going to hate it. And he sat for like 5 minutes and then just like got up and walked away. I was like, I'm going to go downstairs. I can't
I'm going to go do literally
anything else.
Fucking anything else. I'm going to go scrub out the garbage cans.
Yep.
Okay, so they got this pure sample of uranium-235. They sent it through USPS.
No, in the same basket as like a baby, probably. At
Probably.
that time.
Oh my God,
the baby's
probably.
playing with it.
So they sent it to Dunning's team at Columbia. His team was able to demonstrate that uranium-235 was the isotope responsible for nuclear fission.
That they got in the mail.
Sent it through the mail.
I have to imagine that like a single uranium ion or whatever is not going to single-handedly cause that kind of destruction, but it is
honestly,
really funny.
The more I learn about nuclear fission just like in life, the more
terrified,
fucking horrified, because it doesn't take much because it's a fucking chain reaction.
I suppose.
So this revelation was a critical step in the development of the atomic bomb, and our friend Nian later went on to work on / for the Manhattan Project. So
that's fun.
There's that. Okay, I do have a briefcase for us.
I brought my briefcase.
Okay, in June of 1975, Myron Farber, a reporter for the New York Times, got an assignment from his editor. The paper had received a letter alleging that a medical doctor murdered 40 patients.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. So the editor was like, hey, Farber, fucking look into this. Because this might be a big story.
Yeah, and we could break it. Let's fucking go.
Mm-hmm. So Farber traced the deaths to Riverdale Hospital. And I believe it is in New Jersey. And uncovered 13 suspicious fatalities, either before or after very routine surgeries, I think between 1965 and 1966.
Okay.
And all of these were tied to a chief surgeon at the hospital named Mario Jaskalovic.
Okay.
Who I will be referring to as Mario.
Okay.
Mario was born in Buenos Aires, and was hired at Riverdale Hospital in 1962. Not long after that, other surgeons' patients began dying of no apparent cause. When the hospital authorities inspected Mario's locker, they found 18 mostly empty bottles of curare.
What's that?
So curare is it is a mixture that's derived from like different plants.
Okay.
And like indigenous people would use it in part to dip their arrows in to fight their enemies, because it is a very powerful muscle relaxant.
Oh.
And it can kill someone very quickly if they ingest enough of it.
Dang.
So curare. Mario claimed that he was using curare to experiment on dogs.
No, then why are you bringing it to work, buddy? Why is it in your briefcase? Keep it in the garage.
It was in his locker. But
That's
also,
wild.
Hey, I'm just experimenting on dogs. Oh, okay, that's normal. Go about your business.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
after
good, Mr. Dahmer. Have a good day. Enjoy your surgery this afternoon.
Yeah. So
The
the Bergen County prosecutor just dropped the case after like a cursory investigation.
This is fine.
So Farber himself went and investigated the case and published his first of several stories on Mario in January of 1976. And in these articles, he was calling him Dr. X because
Not giving his identity away yet because
Yeah.
they didn't have like
because nothing,
an investigation.
no
team.
guilt had been proven at that point. He was
They don't want to get sued.
exactly, but he wasn't identifying him at this point.
Right.
So that was in January of 76. Mario ended up being indicted that May.
Dang.
So I think they kind of were looking at these articles and were like, okay, we might have dropped the ball. We should probably.
Something's fishy. Something doesn't smell right.
Yeah. So Mario chose a veteran attorney named Raymond Brown as his defense counsel. And leading the prosecution was Sybil Moses, who had only been out of law school for 4 years. So he had a
Okay,
really good
newbie.
lawyer on his side, and the prosecution had a very green lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecutors had alleged that he killed his patients by injecting them with the muscle relaxant curare in order to discredit his fellow surgeons. So he wasn't killing his own patients. He was killing other surgeons' patients to make them look bad at their job.
Honestly, there's something that feels almost sicker to me about that, about the petty, vindictive, narcissistic motivation of that, as opposed to someone who is like,
I love killing. I have to kill.
has some sort of like unyielding obsession and insatiable thirst for death, for
It's
like
just-
the act of killing. I don't know why that is, but that is just grossing me out so bad. Like, I just want to make you fucking look bad. So I killed all these people.
It carries even less regard for a human life.
That's gotta be what it is.
Because you're not even getting your own jollies out of their death, which is a very big deal. You're using that as a means to make your colleagues look bad.
Oh, Mario, no.
So again, this was just what the prosecution said.
God, I hope they're wrong, but holy shit.
Yeah. But keep that in mind. I think when the prosecution, like, you know, tells the court, like, this is our theory, this is what we think he was doing, then that exact theory is what the jury has to consider.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Brown, the defense attorney, contended that the charges were concocted by the prosecutor and the New York Times reporter, Farber, in order to advance their careers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They're
like-
accusing them of the same thing, just without death.
Exactly.
Just you're defaming this guy's character
Mhm.
to get ahead.
Exactly. During the trial, Farber, the reporter, refused.
Which is also a heavy theme in Wicked. Anyway, continue.
What? Farber?
Defaming someone else's character for your own selfish motivation.
Is there a song about it?
Bitch.
Probably.
Isn't there always? Listen to Defying Gravity.
You don't have to tell me twice. That song has been in my head for a week. And I'd never heard it before this movie came out.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I know, you're not a musical theater person. I get it. No, I get it. Respect.
But I like
I hate most musicals.
I like witches.
You do like witches. And you love The Wizard of Oz.
I do love The Wizard of Oz. Have you seen the meme that's Dorinda Medley in her bubble outfit and it said biblically accurate Glinda?
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm finding that the second we're done here.
Okay. Okay, so during the trial, the reporter, Farber, refused subpoenas, like demanding that he turn over his notes,
He's just like, no.
arguing that he had a constitutional right to protect sources he had promised confidentiality to, which is quite fucking apt at this current moment because of, again, this episode won't come out for like a couple weeks. But I listened on NPR today that Biden might preemptively pardon a bunch of people that Trump is threatening to put in jail. Journalists, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first fucking amendment.
Yeah, I mean, he should. He should fucking do literally anything.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be cool.
Apparently Obama put journalists in jail too, so.
So many presidents have. Like, y'all.
Just fucking.
The Democrats and the Republicans
They're
are
all
bad.
bad.
They're
all fucking bad.
It's just different levels of evil.
Yeah.
It's like, what levels of evil can we survive? That, like, hopefully in the short term is how they force us to vote.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Give me that mind eraser.
Right? If I could hand it through the goddamn phone, if I could kiss you through the phone, I would. I'm turning mine back on. I need it.
So the court declared Farber in contempt of court, sent him to jail for 40 days, and fined the New York Times $286,000. Mm-hmm. The case then went to the Supreme Court, which I love that they can do this, just declined to hear it.
Yeah, they're like, nah, next.
It's
so bitchy. No.
Mm-mm.
No.
They don't have to give a reason or anything. They're just like, no.
No.
God. Okay, then
I want that power. No.
So in 1982, so this was like 5-ish years later, New Jersey governor at that time, Brendan Byrne, pardoned Farber and the newspaper, and $101,000 in fines was returned to the New York Times.
And 101 Dalmatians were also turned over to the New York Times.
Oh,
But that was a separate incident.
That was a separate incident. The Supreme Court declined to hear it.
Because they were behind the delivery.
Cruella, we've been through this. You're not evil enough to hang out with us.
Oh my God, the Cruella movie is just her desperate attempts to meet with the Supreme Court.
So
and
we're
she turns
going
fully
to DC
evil.
on that PR circuit, right?
Holy shit. I'd watch that.
Oh my God. Okay, so here's where we get to the actual meat and potatoes of this case. On June 30th, 1978, after the showing of evidence of a positive indication of curare in the exhumed body of one of the alleged victims, dug up the body, did a mass spectrometer
Blasted
magic with it,
specs.
had a positive indication of curare in the body. So after they brought that evidence to light, the defense sought to show that the tests could have been an error. The mass spectrometry tests that the defense questioned were conducted by Dr. David Beggs, a chemist with...
Begging you to listen.
He's begging. He's a chemist with the Hewlett-Packard Company, which, as we know, manufactures scientific instruments.
And really shitty printers.
Yeah. What's mine?
Mine's
I got
an
a
HP.
brother.
Mm.
That is, Hewlett-Packard, HP.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Beggs had testified that his tests showed reasonable scientific certainty that curare was present in the tissues of this alleged victim, whose name was Nancy Savino, who was exhumed. He also said that there was a possibility of curare in 2 other bodies, those belonging to Emma Arst and Frank Biggs, not to be confused with Dr. Beggs.
Okay. Biggs versus Beggs.
We won't talk about Frank Biggs again.
Okay.
During the cross-examination, Brown, defense, focused on the Savino case where Dr. Beggs said he had the most confidence that curare was present. So he was like, we tested them all. There's evidence in these 3. I mean, maybe he didn't test all of them. There might have only been 3 bodies exhumed. But there's some slight suggestion that there is curare in these 2, but there's stronger evidence that it's present in the Savino. The judge said that he would instruct the jury to disregard the findings as evidence if they merely indicated that there was a possibility that curare was present. Brown suggested that the samples might have been mixed up because in many cases they didn't put the whole name on the vials containing the tissues from the exhumed bodies. They only
Well, that's insane.
had a number. So he's like, well,
okay.
they didn't label them very well. Could have gotten mixed up. You don't know. You guys don't know what you're doing.
There's no way to know.
No way to know. Dr. Beggs testified that the samples were supplied to him by Dr. Richard J. Coombs, who was New Jersey's chief toxicologist, who also provided samples of tubocurarin,
Okay.
which is the alkaloid that makes curare work. So curare is like more of a colloquial word for the poison.
Mm-hmm.
But like, science, they found the alkaloid that actually has this toxic effect on the body, and they called that alkaloid tubocurarin.
So this doctor is basically like, no, we didn't fuck this up. We actually were super fucking thorough. Here's all the shit we did. Fuck off.
They had a control of tubocurarin with which to test
Against.
the tissue samples against.
So if it shows up, that means it's there.
Yeah. So
We just don't know exactly how much. It's just it exists.
yes. So Brown, the defense, questioned whether the tubocurarin that the New Jersey toxicologist had supplied was of a reliable standard.
Okay, but is it legit though?
To which Dr. Beggs simply replied, "Sir, tubocurarin is tubocurarin.
Yeah.
Like, it's not."
We're testing it on a molecular level.
Yeah.
You can't fake that.
A carrot's a carrot.
Yeah.
Like,
You can't counterfeit this with fucking spectroscopy. Like, you just can't.
it's that pure sample. It's our uranium-235.
And if it got mixed up, we would have been like, oh, it's not this, it's this.
They would have.
They could identify what it was.
Exactly. That's
So
what
that's
they
so
do.
fucking stupid.
So Brown used printouts from the mass spectrometry test. So they have the results of the test to further his argument to show the lines peaking on the graph. So the peaks were compared to see if the standard matched the sample.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed that the graphs didn't line up. They weren't identical. And
This has got to be so frustrating because, like, you are a scientist expert pleading with a court.
and you're arguing with a seasoned attorney.
Right. Who is not a scientist. And
Yeah.
you're trying to appeal to a judge who is not a scientist. And
a jury who are not scientists.
or not, but to determine whether this was even admissible likely wouldn't be in front of a jury. But like, regardless,
All of it was in front of a jury.
that's wild. But yeah, it's just like you just have to be compelling enough in some ways for them to trust your analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not a room full of like-minded scientists with the same training where you can go, no, buddy. See this peak right here? That means it's here. And Buddy is like, oh, duh. I know exactly what you're fucking showing me. Cool. Got it. It's admissible.
So he was saying, we have the tubocurarin. That is the pure sample. That is the toxin, the alkaloid.
It's there, bitch.
Then we have the sample that we pulled from the bottles from his locker.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, but they don't match up because, these peaks match up. But then there's all these other peaks over here on this sample. And Dr. Beggs was like, yeah, that's because he obviously mixed it with other. It wasn't just pure alkaloid.
Yeah.
Tubocurarin.
There's also like human tissue, all kinds of shit that's blended up in those samples.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From a fucking post-mortem transaction.
Something. So
Other shit is going to be mixed in there.
he was like, the other lines indicate compounds in addition to the curare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the other shit that's mixed in there.
Yeah.
Fucking duh. So in October of 1978, the jury retired to consider its verdict.
No, what did they do?
They had to consider a ton of circumstantial evidence. Also, an array of allegedly positive chemical tests that the prosecution was pushing, but the defense definitely was questioning. And again, they're not scientists, so maybe they obviously just didn't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they had to contend with all the doubts that the defense raised involving the validity of those results. So the jury took all of 2 hours to deliberate. That's it. This was a months-long trial.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours, they found Mario not guilty of the murder charges, and he was completely acquitted. Ironically,
Dang.
Farber was released from jail the same day that Mario was found innocent, because remember, he was put in jail for contempt
Yep.
for refusing the subpoenas.
Oh, God.
The New Jersey Medical Licensing Board did revoke Mario's medical license for 7 other unrelated counts of malpractice. So in addition to all of this, he's just a shitty fucking doctor.
Yeah, you just suck, dude.
So then he totally skipped town, left the country entirely, and never paid his attorney.
No, because why would you? That's a Trump move right there.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
that is the case of fucking Mario, who
Wow, got
definitely
away with
fucking
it.
poisoned those people.
That's wild.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sorry to go from, hey, I think this is happening, to, hey, weird, these cases look messed up, to, hey, weird, this poison is in your locker. Like, that's a lot of coincidences.
It is technically circumstantial, but
It is.
Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours because that attorney was like, well, they don't match. You said they would match. They don't match.
Yeah, and then the doctor gives a precise explanation for exactly why they don't match. And people are
Mhm.
like, I don't trust it. Who's this
Anyway.
motherfucker anyway? What are you, some kind of doctor?
Who invited
Literally.
you?
Who invited you? Oh,
Are
I
you
hate that.
illegal?
Oh, God. Well, that sucks that
It
they
sucks.
couldn't get a conviction, but I hope those sad dead patients are resting in peace.
Oh my God.
Ugh.
Anyway.
Are you ready for my case?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Don't ask me any questions because I don't remember. The wrongful conviction of Nian Bin, a former grocery store owner in China, is a landmark case that highlights issues with the Chinese judicial system, including the reliance on confessions obtained under duress, the lack of robust evidence, and the importance of forensic spectroscopy.
Spectronomy in your
In
notes.
getting spectrotomy, in getting every detail out of available evidence to get to the truth. So in July of 2006, 2 children living next door to Nian Bin died suddenly and unexpectedly, and their parents fell severely ill but did not die after consuming a porridge meal in their home in the Fujian province. So there were 6 people in the home, 4 adults, I think like aunt, uncle,
Mhm.
mom and dad, 2 kids. They all ate this porridge dish that also had squid and like
Mhm.
other, vegetables, etc. 2 of the parents got sick and the 2 children died.
God.
The police identified Nian Bin as a neighbor and grocery store owner as the primary, or at a neighbor and grocery store owner as the primary suspect. Authorities accused him of poisoning the family's food with a deadly pesticide. Nian Bin was arrested and charged with intentional homicide.
Oh, God.
They made this arrest based on the following evidence. And while I'm breaking down, or like after I tell you what each piece of evidence is, I will also tell you why it's bullshit.
Okay.
So the first being circumstantial evidence. Police claimed that Nian Bin had a motive due to alleged disputes with the victims over business-related issues. But the alleged business disputes were never conclusively confirmed. There were no documents, no witnesses, no verifiable statements substantiated the existence of these disputes at all. There's no proof. This is just like, the cops are just like, he killed them because they were fighting about the business and the house next door or some shit.
Okay. Just make up a story.
Just
It's
make up a
fine.
story.
Doesn't matter.
Even members of the victim's family didn't give any clear or corroborated testimony about any personal or financial conflicts with Nian Bin and this affected family. The defense argued that the supposed motive was a convenient narrative created by investigators to fit the accusation, especially given the absence of direct evidence tying Nian Bin to the crime. So they tried him on that. They also tried him on a confession that was extracted with torture.
Yep.
Nian Bin later recounted how police tortured him into confessing to this crime. He detailed being physically beaten, deprived of sleep, and subjected to psychological pressure. He reported being repeatedly beaten by officers during interrogation, testifying that the blows were directed at his torso, limbs, and back to inflict pain without leaving visible injuries, or any injuries would be in an easy to cover place.
Oh,
and this is a common tactic to avoid evidence of abuse. He was reportedly kept awake for prolonged periods as part of psychological and physical exhaustion tactics, and forced to remain in painful positions for extended durations, including being bound and forced to kneel on the hard floor, causing intense physical discomfort. Meanwhile, my left knee has been hurting for the last 3 days, and I think it's because I slept weird with my body pillow. So baby, I could not survive. You're having me get on my knees?
Oh my God. Oh, being on your knees on a hard floor at this age?
For hours. At any age, for hours, it's horrifying. But my knees would just dissolve into a powder and then I would die. Sorry, it's over.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how he got through something like this. It's fucking nuts. Police also threatened him with more severe violence and harm to his family if he didn't confess. So the confession itself was taped, and there's video of his interrogation that runs well over 4 hours long. But one obvious clue that coercion was involved in even just in this one incident of it being on camera, because all the other shit was not on camera. But when
I'm kind of shocked that this was.
Well, 10 minutes and 56 seconds into the tape, there's a sudden jump in the tape indicating a cut.
There we go. There it is.
So this tape was tampered with. And they notice in the video that Nian Bin goes from silently refusing to answer investigators' questions, I know my fucking rights, I want my lawyer, I'm not talking to you.
Well, yeah.
To suddenly, tearfully confessing to the crime.
Oh, weird.
And obviously, the judicial system does vary country to country, but before we say anything that's well, I wouldn't want to be in the judicial system in China, or I wouldn't want to be in a foreign prison, whatever. All of this happens here. Yeah. It happens everywhere.
Does that.
So we can't, those who live in glass houses, America, cannot throw stones at China because we're out here doing,
what are they called?
Wild
black
shit.
sites, dark sites.
Mm-hmm.
We have all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, though, perhaps a difference is that because China's government is so secretive and really, obviously, loyalist, that a lot of the more regional, provincial police departments might have this kind of stuff going on to a higher level than we would here.
Oh, of course.
I would be afraid that the cops at really lower levels in small towns could have access to resources to detain and torture people like this as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely different. And there are levels to the prevalence and the violence. It's just you don't have to look too far from home to see this kind of behavior.
Really fucking don't.
And so he goes from silently refusing to answer their questions to tearfully confessing the crime like that, right around that cut at just about 11 minutes. And there is actually a side-by-side photo on the drive of those two frames from the interrogation. The frame on the left is him right before the cut, and the frame on the right is him right after the cut. And he's
completely different body language.
Different body language. He's definitely you can see in his face that he is very distressed. He's been crying. His brow is furrowed. He does not look good.
Mm-mm.
It's so it's a disturbing photo because you can see that change in him completely. So the third main thing that they brought him to trial on was forensics, and the forensics were flawed. Well, I wouldn't say the forensics were flawed. I would say the handling was flawed.
Or like the analysis.
The analysis, well, we'll get to it. Okay. It's a yes and situation. Key evidence, such as the chemical traces on the poisoned food and in Nian Bin's possession, was either inconclusive or mishandled during the investigation. The prosecution, so to be able to pin this on him, they're like, this guy poisoned them. Okay, well then we have to prove that it was poison, and we have to find that same poison in his possession or somewhere that he would have easy access to.
Yeah.
The prosecution alleged that traces of tetramine, a highly toxic rat poison, were found in water used to make the victim's food, like a kettle for making the porridge, and linked this to Nian Bin. He had a kettle that they alleged was used to transport contaminated water to the neighbors. However, the tests used to detect tetramine in the water and the food were poorly documented and not conducted to accepted scientific standards, and they never even tested the kettle itself, which would have had trace amounts of poison had it been used for this. Reanalysis by independent experts found no conclusive evidence of tetramine in the samples from the food. On top of the evidence itself being sketchy, the handling of the evidence was sketchy. The chain of custody for the samples was unclear.
Oh, as we know, that's not good.
Raising doubts about potential contamination or tampering during handling. Scrambling to keep the narrative, police claimed to have found evidence of tetramine in Nian Bin's residence, but investigators failed to present any credible evidence showing he had access to tetramine or any intent to use it. So they were like, oh yeah, we found it in his house. And they were like, okay, well, show us. They were like, oh, we don't have it.
No.
It's there. Yeah, no. They pulled a Supreme Court.
Yeah, no.
No.
Also, was this like the one compound that is also found in rat poison, or were they saying that he used rat poison? Because
they were saying
he's also a grocery
found
store
tetramine.
owner.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he very well may have had something like this, but they couldn't find any evidence of it.
Okay.
In his possession. So, but yeah, they were like, oh, the test said it was tetramine. You poisoned them. That's in rat poison. It'd be super easy for you to get, case closed. But like from the jump, even the whatever test they conducted, whether they were using spectroscopy or not in the beginning, it was inconclusive. Mm-hmm. So like, we don't know that that's what was in there. You fucked that up, whatever the fuck that was, and didn't go deeper to find out what the fuck that was, which is also part of the problem that we'll get to.
Okay.
So investigators also failed to answer key questions from the defense, including why did the police wait 12 days to have the water from the alleged kettle, the poisoned kettle, tested? Where was the water kept and how was it transported to the lab? They couldn't answer any of those questions. There was also zero forensic evidence to place Nian Bin at the crime scene or anywhere near the poisoned food, even though they're saying you put this water in your kettle and got it over there to them somehow, swapped some of the water out, whatever. There's no evidence to indicate that he ever went into their house. And as if all of that wasn't enough, the symptoms exhibited by the victims, so the 2 children who had died and the 2 adults who fell ill, were inconsistent with those typically caused by tetramine poisoning.
So it wasn't even tetramine in the first fucking place.
No. Medical experts suggested other possible causes of illness, which the prosecution did not sufficiently explore.
Why
would
they?
Everybody fucked this up.
Oh my God, like royally.
So hard. But the lower courts ignored all of these glaring issues with the investigation, and a local court sentenced Nian Bin to death in 2007.
Oh my God.
Accepting the confession despite his claims of torture and lack of direct evidence. Over the next several years, Nian Bin's case went through 6 trials in different courts. Lower courts repeatedly sentenced him to death, while higher courts would overturn the verdicts due to insufficient evidence. And then the cycle just continued over and fucking over again.
Oh my God.
That's not, under their judicial system, it's not like a double jeopardy thing or whatever. Like, he could keep being tried over and over again, even without new evidence.
The fucking stress that would put on a person to be sentenced to death
over and over again. Six times.
We'll take it back.
It's horrifying. Chinese courts historically have a high conviction rate, often favoring law enforcement narratives, especially in high-profile cases, one of many issues we share here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The desire to resolve cases quickly and maintain social stability likely pressured lower courts to convict. Then his defense team would obviously step up to immediately appeal these convictions. And then at the higher court level in 2007, they agreed that he was convicted on bullshit evidence, but their solution was a retrial, kicking him back down to the lower courts where they repeatedly retried the case and issued convictions, all while he remained in prison on death row.
Jesus.
So that cycle started. He got convicted in 2007, and then the higher court overturned it, kicked it back down to a lower court for a retrial. A different lower court tried again on the same shit, convicted him, sentenced him to death, and they bounced back and forth like that.
Do we know anything about like his family? Does he have like a wife and kids at home?
Not that I know of. He has relatives, but I don't know if he had his own children. There's not like a ton of personal information,
which there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be, and a lot of these resources are like translated from Chinese and then redone for American and English language articles. And I just don't think that it is as common in a lot of other countries, not just China, to provide as much personal information as we certainly do in the West in Western culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that. I do. So I don't know much about his family, but I do know from some of the articles I read that like he had family. I just don't, it sounded like it was siblings, nephews, like things like that.
God. It's particularly if you had a family and people you loved at home and one day you were just nabbed off the fucking street and then you're in this horrible washing machine of over years.
For 8 years.
Oh.
Finally, after 8 years of imprisonment, Nian Bin was acquitted in August of 2014 by the Fujian Provincial High Court. And so now that he has an acquittal, they're like, we're done sending you back to be tried again because they keep coming back with this bullshit evidence and then we keep having to fucking deal with this. We're acquitting you. You can't be tried again. We're not sending you back to the lower court.
Who acquitted him?
The Fujian Provincial High Court.
Okay.
So he bounced back and forth.
Supreme Court, regional, whatever.
Yeah. So basically, they were the ones being like, no, we don't think this evidence is sufficient, but the solution is start over again with the trial. But there's no requirement to bring new evidence. So they just kept trying him again.
What a waste of everyone's fucking time.
Resources.
And the victims were two little kids too. So like the other side was like, oh, I gotta put someone in jail for this.
Yeah, but also it's egregious beyond that how investigators and the courts handled this. And we're about to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it wasn't even poison that killed these kids.
Oh my God.
So like, because that evidence was bogus. It was inconclusive. It was not sufficiently tested. It did not hold up that was tetramine, period. But they just kept bringing that same bullshit back to the court.
I wasn't really even applying that to like the cops and the prosecution, even just like public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just
public opinion,
horrible story all around.
Public opinion, I don't know if this is a reason for what this man does in the end. He is alive, so he does not end his life, as far as I have read. But he does make a choice that I can't blame him for, and I have a feeling that this experience and public opinion and maybe people in his community not believing that he's innocent could have led him to make this decision, which we'll get to. So the court ruled that the evidence against him was insufficient and that the confession was unreliable due to allegations of torture. Yeah, we fucking knew that 8 years ago. Forensic spectroscopy and chromatography played critical roles in demonstrating the flaws in the evidence used to convict Nian Bin and eventually contributed to overturning his conviction. So they didn't even use this level of like fine detail forensics to determine that was tetramine. And then after the fact, these independent scientists, forensic scientists, were like, hold up, let us look at these samples. We're going to go right down to the fucking molecular level.
So the cops just said, oh, it's rat poison. He did it. And they didn't even test. They had no evidence.
They tested it. But again, this is one of those things that we can speculate. And I think with some validity, they could have gotten any forensic professional to say, hey, show it. This is tetramine. Like,
yeah,
here's some money. Like, the corruption is real.
It's extremely real.
It's bullshit evidence. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how they got it. It's bullshit evidence that was very obviously created to support the cops going in and going, well, this is what happened. This is what we're telling this distraught fucking family.
Yeah.
Whose, siblings and nieces and nephews got really sick and the children are dead.
Yeah.
Like, we want to wrap this up. This fucking guy looks like a loser. Let's fucking put him in jail. He's right next door. We can make this fit. Wrong. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. He's poor.
Yeah. So, spectroscopy, including infrared and UV visible spectroscopy, was one of the key functions here, which, as we know, involves analyzing the interaction between matter and electromagnetic radiation to identify chemical compounds. So early tests claimed to detect tetramine in the victim's food, but lacked methodological transparency. So they're like, how did you even come to that conclusion? Don't worry about it. We tasted it.
You have to show your work.
Yeah. The instruments used in their
We tasted
it. I got diarrhea. It's definitely tetramine. The instruments used and their calibration were later questioned. Independent experts performed spectroscopic analysis on the remaining food samples and challenged the accuracy of the prosecution's findings. They found inconsistent results in the spectral signatures attributed to tetramine, as well as insufficient documentation to verify the precision or reliability of the original quote-unquote spectral measurements. So I guess they did say like, oh, no. We put it through the helix and we blasted light at it. Here are the spectral measurements. They were like, okay, we're going to try this. And they were like, none of these match. Like, what did you guys even do? And they're like, don't worry about it. We tasted it.
Jesus Christ.
They also use chromatography, which gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, I'm going to die, or GC-MS. So chromatography is used to separate and analyze compounds within a sample, often in combination with mass spectrometry for precise identification. So this is like, we're going to pull the pieces apart with this gas bomb, and then we're going to put it through the fucking horseshoe, and they're going to tell us what it is. Independent forensic experts conducted GC-MS tests on the food samples, focusing on separating and accurately identifying chemical components, sifting out the quote-unquote poison from the food elements. Their results showed no definitive traces of tetramine or any other poison in the quantities alleged by the prosecution, which directly contradicted the claim that tetramine was present in the food at lethal levels. Lethal enough to kill 2 children and hospitalize 2 adults. And yet, independent investigation on a molecular level couldn't find any of it. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, for real.
The lack of reliable scientific evidence to support the poisoning theory was pivotal in the Fujian Provincial High Court's decision to acquit Nian Bin in 2014. He received 1.14 million yen, which is only about $186,000, of compensation from the state for his horrific experience. And one of the sources I read said that after his release, he went into hiding entirely.
I fucking would.
And that's why I kind of wonder, like, was the court of public opinion already turned against him? And people tune out when you get into the nitty gritty, like, wow, the chromatography separation mass spectrometry says, blah, blah, blah. People are like, I ain't reading all that. Isn't that meme where it's like you get a really long text and someone just sends back, I ain't reading all that, but I'm sorry that happened to you, or congratulations, or or I'm not available to hang out.
Also, I think in China and like Asia more generally, when the how people process like shame and guilt and things like that.
And grief. It's culturally different.
A lot of times it goes inward. So I would venture to bet that not only did he feel bad for his own experience, but also there's still 2 little kids who are dead, and now it's 8 years later, and like, are they going to find out how those kids died?
Nope.
Okay, great.
Unfortunately, the exact cause of the victim's illness in Nian Bin's case remains uncertain, as the prosecution focused exclusively on the poisoning theory, neglecting to fully investigate alternative explanations.
Yeah. Fucking.
And then the
could
shit
have been
evidence.
botulism. Could have been the squid.
Girl, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
So there is a plausible hypothesis based on the symptoms reported and the context of this incident. Because the family experienced symptoms after eating their meal, it's very likely, like the meal itself is very likely to be the culprit. That just makes sense. That's just deductive reasoning. The porridge itself could have had bacterial contamination caused by improper food preparation or storage. Bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli, Clostridium perfringens can cause severe gastrointestinal symptoms and, in extreme cases, fatalities. These bacteria are fairly regularly found in improperly stored food or improperly prepared foods. It could also have been a toxin-producing bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus or Bacillus cereus, fucking botulism, which can produce toxins in food left at unsafe temperatures, leading to rapid onset of symptoms resembling poisoning. I am very convinced by this theory because the victim's symptoms were very accurate for foodborne illness of some kind. It was severe vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, like all of these symptoms are consistent with that. And as we know from our botulism episode, children, even if this wasn't botulism in and of itself, in general, children are more vulnerable to succumbing to these types of issues than adults because their like gut biome isn't fully developed yet.
Oh, yeah.
So that would, to fight off and kill this kind of bacteria, that explains why the children died and the adults got sick, but they survived.
Do you know how old the kids were?
I don't. That information was not readily available.
But they
were young.
17.
They weren't like teens.
Okay.
No. Like they were children.
Okay.
They were children.
So that could have been like 2 or something.
Could have been anywhere, I would guess anywhere from like, if they're eating solid food, and from like 2 to 12.
Yeah.
Kind of a big window, but like 2 kids probably under about 12 years old.
It's shocking that the cops jumped straight to murder.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck kind of motive?
I don't know.
That's
And, maybe there had been a
wild.
run-in with this grocery store owner before. Again, because this case happened there, the access to information is minimal.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have motivated that. I mean, I could see after the parents discover that the children are dead, their anguish, who did this to my babies? How could this happen? We must have been poisoned, blah, blah, blah. You know, the state decides, oh, you have to investigate this. And the cops are like, well, God damn it. I don't want to.
There's a trillion things.
I don't want to go to work.
And maybe it was like a situation like, the police chief was blaming the cops for not doing enough. So then they manufacture this explosive case just to get accolades.
There's all kinds of shitty reasons.
It could be fucking anything.
It could be fucking anything.
It could be
fucking anything.
Them
Maybe.
truly thinking that this was a murder, and
It could have been.
what a fucking tragedy all around.
It's so tragic. So there is also a strong theory, you mentioned the squid, that the squid included in the meal was toxic. Their meal consisted of a dish of squid and porridge. All 6 people dining that night, so 4 adults and 2 children, ate the porridge, but it was the 4 who ate substantial amounts of the squid who fell ill. Some experts have suggested the possibility of a natural toxin in the squid. News reports suggest a wave of seafood poisoning incidents in China's southern coastal cities in about this timeline. So like 2005, 2006. But this may be a hard theory to prove because police never sent what was left of the squid. They sent a little bit of the porridge. They didn't send any of the squid. They didn't send any of the water used to cook the porridge. Any of that for testing. The
ineptitude.
And actually, you know what? Actually, they didn't send the remaining porridge in the bowl either because they tested, I remember this now, they tested from stomach contents of the children.
Oh, for God's sake.
So they didn't even test the source evidence of the meal that they ate. It was all thrown out.
Wow.
And then they just created this narrative. Yeah, you put it in that kettle and you carried it over there.
Well, okay. If there was enough time for everyone to get sick and for the kids to get bad enough that they actually died, it was probably a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
They had probably just dumped it out.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
But like, get the bowl or something.
Regardless, at the end of the day, the investigation was so bad.
Yeah, I am not trying to sit here and defend the cops. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know you're not. The evidence they did have was either falsified or so poorly handled that they didn't check for other possibilities. And now it's too late. You can't get additional samples of the meal, the source meal that was tossed out. You can't get more samples of the victim's stomach contents. The investigators just latched onto one theory, tested for it in heavy quotes, and stuck with that. And they didn't even investigate the ingredients used to make the fucking porridge. So like they didn't even investigate the water, the fucking grain, like any of that. The failure to thoroughly investigate these possibilities reflects obviously the systemic flaws in the handling of the case and underscores the importance of comprehensive, unbiased forensic inquiry, not just for wrongfully convicted people like Nian Bin, but in this case, also for the health and safety of communities that would have benefited from confirmation of what happened to this family so that proper precaution could be made to avoid further harm. Like if it was just as simple as this dish wasn't properly cooked and that left them unfortunately susceptible to this bacteria, that's something that's important to learn so that other people in your community who are eating and preparing the same things
also if it
know how to do it in a safe way.
If it was a fucking E. coli outbreak or something like that,
could have gotten everywhere.
You have to know about that.
You have to fucking know about that. It's just such a frustrating case for so many reasons. And like, while I'm thrilled that Nian Bin is now free, his life is irrevocably changed. This family who lost their children will never have proper closure or know exactly what happened to their babies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all they're left with are these, to be fair, pretty solid theories. It's like, it's very likely that they got sick from the food. But if you've ever lost a loved one...
That's not closure.
That's not closure. Because, you know, you're dealing with the grief of your own lost child and that your neighbor essentially lost his life as he knew it for the better part of a fucking decade. Like, that's a lot of grief and anguish, and it all could have fucking been avoided if they had just fired up the horseshoe machine.
Seriously. And got JJ on the phone.
Just call JJ. That shit. Reading about that, it's coming back to me. That fucked me up. I was like, God damn it. Like, this is beyond, this is like, the evidence was so bogus and so fabricated at every fucking turn on the part of the prosecution and the investigators that, I mean, it blew my mind even with our shitty justice system. Be like, okay, even here, that probably would not hold up. Like, even here. What the fuck?
I don't know.
See, I hated it.
The checks and balances systems are not the same universally. And obviously, a lot can fall through the cracks if people are not being held fucking accountable.
Yep.
Wow.
So that is my case for forensic spectroscopy.
Poor Nian Bin.
I know. I hope wherever he is today,
I
that
hope
he is
he's
safe.
far fucking away from Fujian province. I hope that he has healed
To the extent that you
to the extent that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Ditto for the family.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Wild, right?
Science, man.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I learned quite a lot this episode.
Oh, yeah. This was fascinating.
And now I wish that I could go back to the Denver Crime Lab and like
I know. Talk to
ask
them about
to
this.
see more. I want to
Yeah.
see the machine.
I know. They won't let us. They won't let us.
Remember when I
But-
almost walked into the gun room?
Yeah, because you did walk in and they pulled you out.
I got like one foot in the door.
That counts. You made
Probably
it.
contaminated a lot. Focard's principle.
Okay. Proud of you.
I'm going to Google that
Anyway.
and see if I was even right. Focards. I might have just made it up. Nothing is showing up. Focard. Who the fuck is Focard? Why'd I say that? A podcast called From the Principal's Desk keeps popping up.
Okay, so what's the principle? Theory that it's
you always leave
impossible
evidence.
not to leave trace evidence at a scene. Locard's exchange principle.
Oh, it's because
LO.
I typed principal wrong. That's why all these principal
No,
things are
because you
coming
kept calling him Focard. It's Locard with an L. Locard's exchange principle.
up. And I
So
was thinking of
Focard didn't help.
Foucault. He argued that having
well-
the right knowledge is an exercise of power, and that having power is a function of knowledge. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you learned a lot. We will. Thank you for 400 great episodes. We're so glad you've stuck with us. And if you're just joining us, please don't take this
Welcome.
as what we normally talk about.
I mean, it's
It's not a
pretty
good
spot on.
sample.
We are providing you with a 400-minute episode in honor of our 400th episode. All right, we love you all so much. Thank you for
Happy New
sticking with
Year.
us.
We love you.
Yeah, we only have one more episode coming out, a Gossip at the Corpse Cart, and then we will see you after the new year in 2025.
All right.
God bless.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next year.
Bye-bye.